Right, so the first video we have it's Andrew Gold and Maya Forstater. And this one is YouTuber ContraPoints insane attack on JK Rowling and me, Maya Forstater. So let's see what this is all about. I don't remember like an insane attack from ContraPoints, but hey, let's see.
Who ContraPoints is?
Yes.
YouTuber, for anyone who doesn't know, and probably maybe the most famous YouTuber who is a trans person, I guess a man who identifies as a woman. And he or she did a whole thing on you and JK Rowling and collected tweets of yours that were transphobic. And she's like reading this out. And I'm saying she just for... I don't even know.
You can say what you like.
I don't even know. I don't even know. But she said, yes, I think that it was your tweet. Yes, I think that male people are not women. I don't think being a woman /
Why does he even bother saying she if he's already said all that stuff? Like, just say he at that point. Like, commit to something, you know?
female is a matter of identity or womanly feelings. It is biology. People of either sex should not be constrained or discriminated against if they don't conform to traditional gender experience. And they even got an English narrator to read it out, which I thought was quite a nice touch. Did you hear that? They had like an English voice.
Yes.
But I just, like, that's transphobic now.
Yeah.
And this is someone with 6 million subscribers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or 2 million.
And the tweets, so those tweets.
Is it that it's transphobic? I need to see they don't show the real context of it, but I don't know. There's a lot of people that would take it as transphobic.
What happened was I tweeted a question. So right at the beginning when I started tweeting, I just tweeted kind of news stories and, you know, things that were going on, and nobody responded to me. And I had about 2,000 followers at that point, and they were all, you know, policy wonks. They like an argument, and nobody was responding to me either to say, you're a bigot, you're terrible, or I agree with you. It was it was strange. And so then there was this one day when a guy called Philip Bunce, who works at Credit Suisse.
I'm liking, is that an X chromosome brooch? I could be wrong. I like it if so. It's a bit much. I don't know. I don't know why people wear their things on them so much, their beliefs, you know.
Was put on a list of 100 women in business, women leaders in business. Philip, okay. Who sometimes, like several days a week, comes to work in a dress and a wig and makeup and calls himself Pips. And so he's she on those days and he on the days when he's Philip, and was put on this list of women in business. And so I thought that was obscene.
Yes. That is weird. Like, not even like a trans woman, but like a part-time woman or something. That's weird. And
I asked a question, do you think this person should have been recognised as a woman for this purpose? And that question got people talking to me. So there was sort of about a week of several hundred tweets, you know, when you get into like multi-threaded conversations with lots and lots of people, of serious people that I worked with or people that were in that kind of world, some of them agreeing, some of them not agreeing, some of them, I mean, I was quite surprised at like hard-nosed economists saying, well, if she thinks that some part of her is female, then we should respect that. This is a cross-dresser. This is a transvestite. You know, we know.
Total, how you doing? You're back. It's good to see you.
This is a lifestyle, and everyone has human rights. But you know, five minutes ago, we knew what this was, and now we're saying a transvestite is a woman on the days when he wears a wig, which is sexist, if nothing else.
Taking the place of a woman.
Yeah, and just saying.
To me, I find this a bit bizarre. I don't think that. Someone getting a woman's award for that kind of thing, like I'm not sure about that. I can see why like women would find that insulting myself.
You know, being a woman is about makeup and hair. I mean, it's just sexist, regressive nonsense. Anyway, but I think my actual crime was I started a conversation and there were people making points in either direction and agreeing and disagreeing, which is all I wanted. And so those were the tweets that's what ContraPoints was reading. And those were the tweets that were investigated by my employer and then kind of picked over one by one in the court. So it wasn't a sort of manifesto. It was responses to other people saying, well, what about this and what about that?
I think that's even better because these are just responses rather than necessarily a thought out manifesto. And it's still very reasonable.
Yeah.
And the point you make as well, I'm glad you addressed that about how offensive it is to women, this idea that putting makeup on and long hair, that now means I'm a woman, because there are.
Maya Forstater is an English consultant who lost her contract with the nonprofit she worked for after she did transphobic tweets, and Maya has been kind enough to compile them all for us in her thread titled Allegedly Transphobic Tweets. Well, let's take a look and see how alleged they are.
Yes, I think that male people are not women. I don't think that being a woman or female is a matter of identity or womanly feelings. It is biology.
Another says,
some people believe that a person with a penis can be a woman. Some, a majority, don't. Neither group should be discriminated against in everyday life, but in situations involving taking your clothes off for strangers, integration of the two groups is not possible.
And there's a cartoon of a hairy-armed, hairy-legged, burgeoning trans woman flashing her penis at cis women and saying, "It's all right, it's a woman's penis."
That is a lot, to be fair. I think if they don't want people to think they're transphobic, they could do a better job of it, you know?
So we're looking at a standard transphobia starter pack. Everyone born female is a woman, everyone born male is a man, trans women are predators who prey on women, and
Okay, before we got to predators and stuff, I'm like, I don't know if I believe that that's generally transphobic. Like, a man can become a trans woman, surely. I don't know.
I'm being oppressed for speaking the truth. Is this what you want, Joanne? You want to put this...
Okay, I'm bored now. I do actually want to watch a couple of her videos, because some of them I think are really good. I don't know so much about this one. I saw it a long time ago, and I haven't watched it again, so... But yeah, I like contrapoints in general.
Always, there will be a number of comments below this video where people say, "Oh, come on, you know, they clearly are a woman now." And I sometimes, I don't really reply often anymore, but I go, "Why? What is it?" And I say, "Please don't say makeup and long hair that makes a man a woman, because that's so offensive. My future daughter, you know, doesn't have to have long hair or nails. And if the suggestion that she doesn't do that, she's any less feminine or less womanly, I can't think of a more insulting, bigoted view than that." It's still very reasonable
by my employer and then kind of picked over one by one in the court. So it wasn't sort of manifesto, it was...
I mean, those, I don't know. I don't know what you'd get done for in court for something like that.
Responses to other people saying, well, what about this and what about that?
I think that's even better, because these are just responses rather than necessarily a thought out manifesto, and it's still very reasonable.
Yeah.
And the point you make as well, I'm glad you addressed that about how offensive it is to women, this idea that putting makeup on and long hair, that now means I'm a woman. Because there will be a number of comments below this video where people say, "Oh, come."
I kind of wonder, the person that she was talking about that was like a man some days and a woman others, but was born male, I wonder, like, if they ever took any kind of transition steps of any kind. Presumably not, if they're, like, going back and forth. But yeah, it's weird to me that person would win a woman's award.
Come on, you know, they clearly are a woman now, and I sometimes, I don't really reply often anymore, but I go, "Why? What is it?" And I say, "Please don't say makeup and long hair that makes a man a woman, because that's so offensive. My future daughter, you know, doesn't have to have long hair or nails. And if the suggestion that she doesn't do that, she's any less feminine or less womanly, I can't think of a more insulting, bigoted view than that." So then they go, "No, there are just other things." And you go, "What?" And no one's ever answered. Someone tried to say the way that women walk and present their buttocks. Like, that was a genuine, you know...
It's like... anyone like trying to quantify it in that way is kind of wrong. It's just what other people see when they see you, you know. If you're presenting as a woman well enough, then the people are going to see a woman. And if you never correct them, that's what they're going to think you are, you know. So I think whoever's been talking to them is like kind of barking up the wrong tree immediately. But hey, like, I don't know how many sensible people ever talk to these people about gender, and how many people they just see are just the cult freaks, you know.
Progressive person trying to say that.
But also, that's quite hard to change. I mean, the thing that you can change by taking medication, hormones, is, you know...
Yeah, that's a very anti-feminist way of like describing womanhood. And like, I agree, I don't see it that way either, but that's not really quite what trans is. Maybe someone that's just dressing up some of the time, I could see why they'd say it about that person, but I don't know. That's not what I am, and like, you can't really conflate trans with that, because if this person's trans half the time, like, you know, is that gender dysphoria? Like, what is that at that point, you know?
Men can grow boobs. And I think that, I mean, that is basically what people are thinking when they, you know, if a man has gone to the effort of growing tits, then he's a woman.
Growing tits and taking off their willy.
Well, most don't take off their willy. I mean, so this week, Munro Bergdorf, a model...
most don't take off their willy. I love how they talk sometimes. I mean, you've got to remember that part of that is there's a lack of access in this country. You know, we're British people talking, you know, I can relate it to my country. It is. There's a lack of access. So like, it's going to be less than how many people would want to. I always try and consider like intention as well as people that have done it. I'll just go back a bit to get that line again. But yeah, they're not going to presumably acknowledge that that's kind of the reason why which is a shame. They'd be a lot smarter if they engaged with the other side a little bit. But hey, that's why I criticize both sides.
When they, if a man has gone to the effort of growing tits, then he's a woman.
Growing tits and taking off their willy.
Well, most don't take off their willy. I mean, so this week, Munro Bergdorf, a model, trans woman model, was appointed.
I think there's a bit more to it than just reducing you to your body parts, because they're reducing you to your entire self that you were born as, if you know what I mean, like your sex. I think there's a bit more than just calling someone a person with ovaries. Like that would be reducing someone to their body parts, sort of being like, I see womanhood as growing tits, like for example. Yeah, I think reducing someone to their sex, I'm not saying that you should necessarily, but it's not the same as reducing someone to a body part.
By UN Women UK as their champion for women, and that we complained, and people said, but Munro is a woman. Munro has better makeup than me, and great boobs, but also, well, at least as far as I know, until a couple of years ago, and I think it's probably still true, also has a penis and balls. He posed for a arty naked shot showing this. And most men are attached to their genitals, understandably. Sure. So, for most people, it isn't. It's facial surgery, it's makeup, it's getting boobs. A lot.
You can't really know that. I mean, you don't know why someone's getting those kind of things done. Like, it's easy to just make the best guess you can, but ultimately, she doesn't know what a trans experience is like. I don't know. It's hard to explain because it's like an internal thing. And, it's easy for me to understand why so many people just don't really believe in it and stuff. But at the same time, like, they do definitely, like, try and project a motive onto people without really listening to people's actual rationales or whatever for becoming trans. Like, whatever mechanism that actually is, like, there's still, you miss as much of the story, like, listening to these people as the other kinds of people, I think. They're talking openly and graphically about a trans person's genitals in the way they never talk about cis people's junk, clearly to demean and degrade. Well, I mean, this comes out of a conversation that wasn't so much about that, but I mean, I guess if you're going to talk about trans and cis people in terms of how they differ, then you're going to have to get onto the genitals at some point. And the genitals are obviously a key part of why males and females differ. So it's like, I understand it. I don't know if I'd say this about this, but it definitely gets like very gratuitous with plenty of like gender criticals and like TERF type people. At least do it equally and fairly then. Well, to be fair, like the debate arises because of trans people. So it's kind of, I understand it, if you know what I mean.
People think, well, if someone was to have the surgery, then that makes them a woman. One, I don't think it does. But two, you can't have any rights that depend on saying that someone must have their genitals operated on, because that's sterilization. It's forced sterilization. They used to give gender recognition certificates out in the Netherlands and Sweden, I think, on that basis, and they had to give compensation to people because because it's a human rights abuse to say we're going to give you these rights if you have your balls chopped off. Yeah. You can't do that.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really interesting thought. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. That's really interesting. Well, contrapoints continued.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons stuff like that exists the way it does. It's a bit like how I think a big reason why like gender dysphoria is a mental disorder, like classified as such, is because that's how they get it medicalized. Like, I think if it wasn't places like the US, you probably wouldn't get like insurance on it if it wasn't medicalized in some way. So I think that's kind of why shit's like that. We don't raise the question cis transphobes do. Well, it's the fact that we exist and say we're this, but we have the opposite. We have what other people would normally have. So we kind of do raise the question just by existing, if you know what I mean.
And read out that J.K. Rowling very famous tweet, dress however you please. And this is, I think it's important because I think a lot of people watching, although people in maybe our ideological group or whatever it might be in our camp know this tweet very well now, a lot of people don't. They just assume J.K. Rowling must be a bigot. I don't know what it is she said. This is what she said. Dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you, live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real. I stand with Maya, which must have been nice for you.
Yeah.
But like,
I wouldn't force someone out of their job for saying sex is real. Like, I'll say sex is real as well, but like, I don't know. That's the trouble. It's hard for me to sit there and just call people transphobic when they use language a certain way. And in a sense, it almost makes me feel that that's just not a very strong argument. There's no point bothering. You know, you should probably question it on other grounds. I don't know.
Where is the bigotry there?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, she's a good writer.
And obviously that's one tweet, you know. We're hearing one tweet out of context. Don't forget that. There's obviously, you know, they present bias in the same way that anyone else does. So
she's a really, really good writer. I write these long articles about policy and law, and often I look at them and go, yeah, just J.K. Rowling's tweet. She had it all. She had it all in that one tweet.
Yeah, she's good.
Everyone has human rights. Dress how you please. You have freedom of expression. Sleep with whoever will have you.
Sorry, that was some high-class simpering. Let me just get that one more time.
Yeah, just J.K. Rowling's tweet. She had it all. She had it all in that one tweet.
Yeah, she's good.
It's funny to me. I don't know why. One more time.
I write these long articles about policy and law, and often I look at them and go, yeah, just J.K. Rowling's tweet. She had it all. She had it all in that one tweet.
Yeah, she's good.
That tweet. Yeah, she's good. Simp harder. Jesus Christ. I'm a big TRA, full-blown trans feminist. I wouldn't want someone fired for saying sex is real. I know what they mean by that. Very few people are at the level of these kind of sophisticated double speakers who have spent hours honing their rhetoric to paddle their political agenda. Well, I don't know. I'm listening to someone from outside of this political agenda, what they think of it. Like, to me, I get all sides. I think that it's like cutting part of your own brain off to refuse to listen to any of these kind of people and at least sort of take their stuff at face value and see if it works in that way whilst thinking more about it. But I mean, I don't know, it's a difficult one because you have just as many people on your side that do the same thing. So, you know, I mean, I'm happy to take like suggestions, but there's a lot of that kind of thing in the trans circles and it needs calling out in my opinion.
Everyone has human rights. Dress how you please. You have freedom of expression. Sleep with whoever will have you.
I'll say one thing, like at first I just kind of scrutinized trans people. And very quickly I wanted to start scrutinizing these people as well. Because I think both sides are deserving of it. And I think it would be right if I just watched trans people all the time to be like, well, why don't you ever look at the other side? So I do try and do both.
Other people's consent matters, but there are all kinds of different sexual orientations and expressions of that, and don't try and drive people out of their jobs. I mean, she really got it all into one tweet.
She's someone who got it from both sides now, because when Harry Potter was first released, she got it from the religious right, I suppose, and now what I would call the religious left.
Yeah, I mean, I think quite often people who've been cancelled for one thing are braver. They know what to expect, and so before I tweeted about this and got cancelled about this, I was quite fighty about tax, which was the topic I worked on, and I sort of got my job by pointing out some bullshit that the organisation I ended up being employed by had published and picking it apart, and so it was a much smaller but actually equally toxic pool that I was commenting in, and quite often you find people who, I mean, religious people.
That's fair enough. There are plenty to criticize on our side, but at least the fundamental project is a fundamentally sound one. What is the fundamental project? If you could explain that more, that'd be good.
They have a hill that they're willing to die on, and they've experienced that before. But people who've defended an unpopular position in some other sphere seem to be more willing to speak up about this one.
It does seem to be the case. What do you think? I mean, we sort of talked about this bit at the beginning, but what is ContraPoints finding transphobic in J.K. Rowling's tweets and your tweets?
Ultimately, it's about women saying no. That's what.
I very much doubt that ContraPoints' problem with them is women saying no. I mean, there was a whole fucking video. I wish I didn't close it now, but it'd be quite hard to. This is the annoying thing about trying to like prove the whole J.K. Rowling is transphobic thing. It takes like a long time. And even when you get people that compile these like lists, it's very like, what's the word? Fuck. It's very contentious. It's very contentious, ultimately, when you think about everyone's perspective as to whether J.K. Rowling is actually transphobic or not. Ultimately, you know, if you're a person that individually thinks that yes, she is a million times, like you're just one person. So like it's very difficult to prove, and honestly, I'm like past the point of caring whether she is or not, you know. If I see things that I have an issue with, then I'll say something, you know. That's kind of, I mostly ignore J.K. Rowling anyway, because like it's like everyone's fucking after her constantly, and I just can't be asked.
Transphobic means, and it, as politely as you can say it, you're still saying no. And so transphobia is used as a weapon against women being able to say no, and against institutions being able to say we
like used as a weapon. There's a lot of intent being like put into this.
Have clear rules, and no means no. It's as simple as that.
Are there any facts or arguments that can convince you that men, for all intents and purposes, can be women, intersex, clownfish? Those are the ones that are brought up usually.
You know, humans are not clownfish, as Helen said. Sex, I mean, everyone has a mother and a father, whether those are the people that brought you up or not. Everyone biologically has a mother or a father. Everyone's mother is female. Mm-hmm. Everyone's father is male. And that goes back, you know, to the whole history of humankind. You can't get away from that. And then
Elijah Marie on YouTube, hey, Matthew 19:12 says that God prefers same-sex marriage and confirms trans people are born that way. I agree. Thank you. Hey. Ooh. Male or female is determined by gender, located in the soul, not sex characteristics. Elijah Malachi 4. Front runner to the return of Jesus. Hey, well, it's nice to see you.
Being a mother or not being a mother, being vulnerable to getting pregnant, shapes women's lives. It's not something you can put in a box and say, oh, this is a 9-month thing. This is a lifetime thing. It's a lifetime of a child's thing. And it's what shapes evolution. And evolution, you know, that's how I understand the world. So there's no getting away from that.
Yeah. Where can people, I've got another question for you afterwards, but where can people follow you and support you?
So my organisation is Sex Matters, sex-matters.org. It's on Twitter. It's on so
this is like the end of the conversation. She doesn't go into it a huge amount. I don't know to what extent that's deliberate, the way it is on the other side.
The internet and website.
I mean, their point is quite simple. It's like if you're born male, you're a man. That's kind of it. To me, I don't say I'm a woman. I say I'm a trans woman. I don't know. I think there's a middle ground between saying that anyone can just be whatever they call themselves, and from the day this guy, he calls himself a woman, like from that moment on, he's a woman or something, because that's crazy to me. But there is more to it than just like sex, you know. So I don't know. It's Maya Forstater. I think that's Andrew Gold. I didn't establish that. I'm sorry. JKR Glazefest didn't really like follow through on the YouTuber ContraPoints insane attack on J.K. Rowling and her. That wasn't like an insane attack. I don't know if I agreed with ContraPoints, but like, you know, it's a difficult one. They didn't really go into it very much, so hey, I don't know. There we go. Maya Forstater. I've not really watched her before, so I don't know. I hope maybe I'll find something where she goes more detailed in some of the stuff they were talking about, like it's about women saying no, because I find it hard to believe that people like ContraPoints, like ultimately they want women to not be able to say no to, say, men being in their bathroom or something. Like that seems like a huge leap from someone who obviously doesn't know who ContraPoints is a huge amount, but hey.